Hello, everybody. All right. So, anyways, welcome to the Mikestand. Um, hopefully, everybody's where Wednesday. Today is Wednesday, July the 31st, 2025. So, hopefully, everybody's having a good week as we've reached Hump Day. Um, so, I guess I'll talk a little bit. We got at least one other person here, so I guess I'll talk a little bit about what's on tap tonight. Of course, friendly reminder, if you guys haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, with that being said, of course, we do have three. We're going to actually go over three articles tonight. Um, I'm going to go over three articles tonight, all from Bleeding Fool. First, talking about Animax Tel Aviv commemorating its 25th anniversary, which whatever that is, but we'll find out soon enough. The granddaddy of indie superheroes returns. Nexus nears a 250,000, and Rowdy Howard's Cull returns to comics in 2027. So those are the three articles we're going to be doing. All of them from Bleeding Fool. We'll also, of course, have the wrestling wrap up, in which we'll take a look back at last night's NXT, look ahead to tonight's AEW Dynamite, also get caught up on all the latest news in wrestling, including some more updates on SummerSlam this weekend. With some of the stuff going on there, and then we'll wrap things up with this day in each history. So, with that being said, why don't we go ahead and get right into it? Um, Again, a friendly reminder, if you guys haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. With that being said, let's get going here. So let's start off with this first article here. All right. So Animax Tel Aviv commemorating its 25th anniversary next month. All right. Article by Avi Green published today. So let's see what we got here. So Animax is the Tel Aviv Comics and Animation Convention. And the Jerusalem Post tells what will be featured there this year. All right. So obviously, this is not to be confused with the I guess distribution anime distribution company Animax. This is a comic and animation convention in Tel Aviv. So Animax Tel Aviv, a celebration of animation, comics, and character art from around the world, is commemorating its 25th anniversary. So I guess it started back in 2000, with a gala festival to be held August 5th through 9th. So that would be I think, starting next Wednesday. Let's see, Thursday. No, actually, it starts Tuesday, I believe. Tuesday, and then goes through until Saturday, I believe. Since its founding, Animax Tel Aviv has been a platform for artists to express their personal narratives, political views, and creative visions. This year, perhaps more than ever, that spirit of expression will take center stage. Against the backdrop of the October 7, 2023 Hamas mega attacks, the ongoing war in Gaza, and the recent Israel-Iran war. The festival's showcase artists and their works reflect that spirit of expression and the darker reality of that Israel has faced. Let's see. Featured pieces at the festival. One of the standout pieces at the festival about the Israel Gaza conflict comes from director Jordan Barr and co-director Chen Heifetz of Tel Aviv Studio Pixel. They have created a 6-minute animated film telling the story of Guy Gilboa Dalal, an anime fan who attended the Nova Music Festival, where hundreds were killed and kidnapped. Dalal was among those taken hostage, and nearly 2 years later remains captive in Gaza. The film's raw personal narrative offers both a tribute and a stark reminder of the human cost of ongoing conflict. Another political piece at the festival will be the panel Tehran on the Line, bringing together prominent voices from both the art and academic worlds. The panel will explore the intersection of art, politics, and protest. Let's see if anybody's saying anything as of yet. Nope. Again, feel free to comment and or ask questions if anything grabs your attention here. All right, so let's see. Featured guests include Michael Kitchka, a renowned comic artist known for blending personal narratives and political commentary, Benny Sabati, a leading scholar on Iran, and Dekel Shea Shori, a specialist in Middle Eastern animation. They will offer insight into the Iran-Israel conflict while shedding light on how Iranian artists are using animation, comics, and political cartoons to challenge censorship and authoritarian control. Surprised Avi hasn't interjected in too much in between, so he's at least letting most of this come out before I guess giving his thoughts. The panel will include discussions, visual presentations, and screenings of notable works such as Persepolis, the acclaimed animated film based on Marjane Satrapi's graphic novel, which portrays life under Iran's oppressive regime through deeply personal storytelling. All right, so now we get to Avi's comment on this, on what we just read there. Let's see. All right. This certainly is an interesting setup of panel discussions they're holding this year. And in addition, they're even raising the important subject of how life in Iran became a hellhole under Ayatollah Khomeini's Islamic rule. I've sometimes found it amazing if certain leftists actually support Satrapi despite all that. If the convention management is smart, they'll do their best in the coming years to make sure similar panels and projects are brought up at the Tel Aviv convention. So I guess Avi really was high on this particular article here. I guess he didn't like intercede, too much there. Now I'm getting ready to move on to the next article, of course. Let's get into this one now. Granddaddy of indie superheroes, quote unquote, returns. Nexus nears 250,000. Article by Bleeding Fool. I guess the site is doing this article. Published earlier today. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on here. So the crowdfunding campaign for Nexus Deluxe hardcover omnibus is closing in on nearly 250,000 in funding and drawing attention from longtime fans and newcomers alike. I believe this series is done by, of course, Mike Barron, I believe, from what I understand. This deluxe hardcover edition, produced by Big Studios, offers a gorgeously restored and oversized collection of Eisner Award-winning series by writer Mike Barron and artist Steve Rude. Okay, yep. Preserving a milestone of independent comics history. Originally debuting nearly 45 years ago, Nexus is celebrated for its sophisticated blend of science fiction and superhero storytelling. Complex narratives, dynamic artwork, and rich character development have earned it a revered place in comic book culture. This omnibus will compile stories spanning the series runs at Capitol Comics, First Comics, and Dark Horse, including uncollected Dark Horse stories, last year's Nexus Scourge, and some forthcoming Nexus graphic novels already in the works. Hmm. All right. The project benefits from generous backing with contributors, unlocking multiple stretch goals that add extra content and premium production features. Supporters can choose from various pledge tiers that include signed editions and limited dust jackets designed for collectors. The series' critical acclaim is underscored by praise from some of science fiction and comics' most respected voices. Acclaimed artist Alex Ross called Nexus, quote, the granddaddy of the independent superhero, and still outclasses the lot of them, unquote. Comic book legend Chris Claremont highlights its storytelling string, saying, quote, it's a book that satisfies as a story and as a comic and as science fiction. Nexus is a book that makes one want to come back next issue and the next, and that is a real pleasure. Even science fiction icon Harlan Ellison, who was one of the earliest contributors to the first comic series, Letters from Readers page, raved over the comic, saying, quote, I herewith declare to an unbridled enthusiasm for Nexus. I've watched with pleasure as Mike and Steve have maintained their charm, skill, and originality through one incarnation after another. Nexus rules, unquote. Oh, quite some high praise there for Mike and Steve there, huh? Let's see now. Nexus debuted in the early 80s at the start of the indie comics boom, originally as a 3-issue black and white comic from Capitol Comics. Created by the powerhouse team of Mike Barron and Steve Rude, the story follows Nexus, a futuristic anti-hero plagued by visions that drive him to hunt down mass murderers, starting with his own father. After a quick leap to full color, Nexus bounced to First Comics in 1985 for a celebrated run before eventually landing at Dark Horse Comics, where he kept turning up in one-shots and miniseries. Through it all, Baron and Rude have remained at the heart of Nexus's incredible journey, despite moving on to do their own separate Nexus takes. Writer and co-creator Mike Baron summed up the omnibus campaign's significance. Quote, I think this collection is a dream come true for longtime Nexus fans, as it preserves and elevates Steve's art and my storytelling in a way no other collection has before. I'm humbled by it and really proud of it. Here's Baron sharing some unquote. Here's Baron sharing some history of the series in the most recent prominent video, and that video is on YouTube if you guys want to go check that out. This deluxe omnibus edition offers what the publisher calls the definitive, elegant presentation of Nexus, a genre-defining series whose influence in indie comics remains profound, more than 4 decades since its debut. The crowdfunding campaign has surpassed $235,000 as of this writing, and is its final. Okay, I think it's supposed to say in its final 48 hours, but is still accessible through baroncomics.com, where both Kickstarter and Indiegogo options allow fans to contribute before the campaign wraps up. All right, so there we go with that one. We got through two-thirds of the articles we're doing here tonight. Before I do get to the third one here, I'm going to need to step away from the computer for a moment. I'll be right back, but I'll set this up. I'll put some music on to keep you guys entertained while I'm gone. I'll be right back as soon as, of course, as I get the... I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Anyways, let's get back to the article here. Let's see. 1 minute. Okay. So Robert E. Howard's Cull returns to comics in 2027. Article by Mandy Parker, published today. So here we go. Revealed at today's Conan the Barbarian panel, editing era there, jamming the words together there, at San Diego Comic Con, Heroic Signatures and Titan Comics are thrilled to announce the return of Cull, the fierce and cunning warrior created by Robert E. Howard, to comics in 2027. Also revealed at the panel were more details and a first look at artwork for two upcoming landmark and unmissable issues coming this October: Conan the Barbarian number 25 and a stunning new issue number 1, The Savage Sword of Conan Reforged, featuring vivid all-new color restorations of classic The Savage Sword of Conan black and white stories. Now, apparently, there's been some editing issues there. They jammed some words together and all that. But anyways, firstly, in Conan the Barbarian number 25, parentheses, in stores October 8th, unparenthesed, this spectacular extra-sized one-shot will feature an epic standalone story written by fan favorite Conan the Barbarian writer Jim Zub, brought to vivid life with fully painted interior illustrations by celebrated and beloved fantasy artist Alex Horley. Alex Horley is behind some of the most iconic sword and sorcery images in the history of Conan, and his gorgeous fully painted art, in parentheses, a first for Conan the Barbarian comics, on parentheses, is available for fans to check out now below. Let's see. All right, let's see. All right. Conan the King welcomes a strange visitor with an even stranger mission. Can the ruler of Aquilonia prove his mettle, or will the mysterious wanderer's incredible power change the course of history? The Savage Sword of Conan, Reforged number 1, arrives on October 22nd and revitalizes the legendary black and white magazine with vivid all-new color restorations of two of Conan's most iconic stories: Tower of the Elephant, featuring art from the legendary John Buscema and Alfredo Alcala, and the Frost Giant's Daughter, from the incomparable Barry Windsor Smith. These iconic stories are now recolored to fully capture the brutal majesty of Robert E. Howard's Hyborian Age. So just kind of going through these. I didn't see them. Let's see. Plus, also revealed during the panel was a stunning sneak peek at this year's unmissable Conan the Barbarian event series, Scourge of the Serpent number 1. Spinning out of the pages of this year's Free Comic Book Day special, the new Conan epic starts in September. From writer Jim Zub with art by Ivan Gill. Of course, Conan the Barbarian, Free Comic Book Day, The Battle. Let's see. Conan the Samaria, or Conan of Samaria, had encountered Stygian sorcery and snake-sent creatures many times in his grand adventures, but he has never faced the true, unspeakable power of Set until now. Yeah, some more interesting pictures here. Fans can order Conan the Barbarian, number 25, Conan the Barbarian, Scourge of the Serpent, number 1, and the Savage Sword of Conan Reforged, number 1, from their local comic book shop or Forbidden Planet for UK and Europe. All right, so there we go with that. That's all. That's all in there. That's all from the articles we're going to do tonight. Let's see now. All right, so coming up on 30 minutes here. All right, so what I think I will do now is I will get ready to move on to the wrestling wrap up. As of course we have we look back to last night's NXT, look ahead to tonight's Dynamite, and then get caught up on all the latest news going into SummerSlam this weekend. First, so first off, from last night's NXT, coming from the W Performance Center in Orlando, Florida, with of course Booker T, Corey Graves, and Vic Joseph on commentary. The show opened up with Jada Parker defeating Jasmine Nix of Fatal Attraction, continuing to lay her claim onto as a top contender to challenge for the NXT Women's title. Tavian Heights defeated Charlie Dempsey to earn his freedom from No Quarter Catch Crew. Charlie Dempsey had Ren Sinclair in his corner, and then with some help from Nia Jax, Fallon Henley defeated Lash Legend as Jax had came in to get some revenge on Lash Legend for disrespecting her, apparently, and she came in and cost Legend the victory over Fallon Henley as Lash Legend was trying to stake her claim to the possibility of being a top contender to the NXT title. Javon Evans defeated Wes Lee in a singles match. Let's see now. As he was previously as early in the evening, he had a confrontation with Trick Williams, who was sitting at ringside for this contest. As Trick Williams, the current TNA World Champion, was laying claim to wanting to go after Obafemi and the NXT title, become a two-time NXT champion, only for Javon, who's currently, I guess, the number one contender as right now, not really having it. And in the main event, saw Ethan Page successfully defend the NXT North American title against Santino Marella. Santino Marella looked to bring an NXT title back to TNA after, of course, Trick Williams and JC Jane had taken the TNA titles. Of course, Trick Williams also was again wanting, basically putting it out there that he wanted to try to become a double champion as well. Wanting to challenge Obafemi to regain the NXT title from him. He lost the title to Obafemi, as it were. Also, and of course, the night started off with another, tribute to Hulk Hogan. This time with everybody in and around the ring, all the NXT, talent and staff. Albeit there was one NXT. There is apparently one NXT wrestler who apparently cannot let go of the past or he challenged the WWE in the narrative of the idea of, should we really be honoring the man's legacy, even though, he's, come out and made racial remarks and, even though the thing is, what some of these people have to understand too is that a lot of, I think at least some, if not a lot of the African American talent, a lot of the black talent who have worked with Hogan have accepted his apology. So if they don't have an issue with it, why should anybody else? So that's just my 2 cents on the whole thing. But but anyways, we're not going to get too deep into that part of it. But anyway, so now let's go ahead and look ahead to tonight's Dynamite. And oh wait, there is one more piece of WE news I should probably mention here as well. In that, right now the tag match between Randy Orton, Jelly Roll, and Logan Paul and Drew McIntyre may still be up in the air as it seems that McIntyre is still stuck in England. Now WWE is hoping that he'll be back by Friday's SmackDown, but they have already started to make preparations for the possibility that he'll unfortunately will miss SummerSlam. And already, and as we mentioned in yesterday's reporting, The Miz looks to possibly be taking over for McIntyre. For McIntyre, he did a kind of a online promo, and considering that he's had history with Randy Orton and Logan Paul, is also considered a good worker to work with other like celebrities who are coming into the wrestling scene. It is being said that is what is being making some sense there. Now, as we move on to look ahead to tonight's AEW Dynamite, as they prepare to prepare to continue their preparations for Forbidden Door in late August here. The opening match looks like in another eliminator tournament quarterfinal match, the Young Bucks of Matthew and Nicholas Jackson will be taking on the Outrunners, Turbo Floyd and Truth Magnum, see who advances in the tournament, to see who will challenge the Hurt Syndicate coming up at Forbidden Door. Mark Briscoe takes on Ricochet. In a women's tag team match, Ring of Honor World Women's Champion Athena teams with Billy Starks to take on AEW Women's World Champion Toni Storm and Alex Windsor. as the feud between these four women is heating up, as Storm and Windsor are trying to fend off. As Athena has of course, being the Gauntlet winner from a few weeks ago, for a couple weeks ago, is still the number one contender for Toni Storm's title. And then in a match for the AEW World Title, in which everyone is banned from ringside, Adam Page will be defending against Jon Moxley, who is exercising his return match clause here, championship return match. So basically, though, it's been said that everybody is banned from ringside, trying to keep the interference in the match down to a minimum. Let's see now. So as I said, and I guess I'll go over real quick the this weekend's match cards for SummerSlam. I'll do that real quick here. So SummerSlam, for the first time in its history, SummerSlam is going to be a 2-night event. So coming up on Saturday from the MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, night one of 2025 SummerSlam, you'll see the opening match, a tag team match between Roman Reigns and Jey Uso and Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed. Also in a match for the WWE Women's Tag Team title, Judgment Day duo of Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez will be defending the titles against Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. Previously, as I mentioned, this possibly it's still on, but depending on Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul are set to take on Jelly Roll and Randy Orton in a tag team match, but that match may be changing if Sami Zayn will be taking on Karrion Kross. Karrion Kross, Scarlett in a match for the WWE Women's title. Tiffany Stratton will defend against Jade Cargill, who won the Queen of the Ring tournament and the right to challenge. And then in a match for the WWE World Heavyweight title, Gunther will be taking on CM Punk. Now moving, also talking about so on Sunday from the MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, the night will open up with a 6-pack tables, ladders, and chairs match for the WWE Tag Team titles, as the Wyatt Six duo of Joe Gacy and Dexter Lumis will be defending the titles against Andrade and Rey Fenix, the Motor City Machine Guns of Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley, DIY of Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano, the Street Profits, Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford, and Fraxium of Axiom and Nathan Frazier. Then in a match of the WWE Intercontinental title, Dominic Mysterio defends against AJ Styles. In a no count out, no disqualification match for the WWE Women's Intercontinental title, Becky Lynch will be defending against Lyra Valkyria. And another stipulation as part of this match: if Lyra Valkyria cannot defeat Becky Lynch for the title, then she will not be able to challenge for the title again until she'll not be able to challenge for the title again while Becky Lynch is still champion. In a steel cage match for the WWE United States title, Solo Sikoa defends against Jacob Fatu. In a triple threat match for the WWE Women's World title, Naomi defends against former champions Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. And then in the main event, in a Chicago street fight, or in a street fight for the undisputed WWE title. John Cena will defend against Cody Rhodes. Oh, there we go with that. So now, with that being said, today is actually it's Wednesday. I'm sorry, Wednesday, July 30th. Not Tuesday. I don't know why I said Tuesday, but Wednesday, July 30th, 2025. So let's go ahead and take a look back at this day. Each history. History! So let me just 85. 1985. 2020. And 2010. All right. So first off, I'm going to head back 40 years ago. As on this date, 40 years ago today, back in 1985. 85. The 270th issue of Amazing Spider-Man from Marvel went on sale on this date back in 1985. It sold for 65 cents. 32 pages. Wow. You can getting a comic for under $1. Doesn't that seem like so far away? The title of the story was The Hero and the Holocaust, written by Thomas P. DeFalco, penciled by Ron Frenz, Bob McLeod doing the inking, Joseph Rosen doing the lettering, and Bob Sharon doing the coloring. So on this date, back in 1985, 40 years ago today, the 270th issue of Amazing Spider-Man from Marvel Comics went on sale on this date back in 1985. That was, of course, Volume 1 of said book. So with that, let's move on to the next piece of niche history here. We'll move on ahead to 2010. On this date in the year 2010, Hood's Entertainment OVA movie, the first issue of the first of 2 episodes of Aki Sora Yume no Naka was released on this date back in 2010, 15 years ago today. 15 years ago today, the first episode of Hood's Entertainment's OVA series Akisora Yume no Naka was released on this date back in basically the plot of this is from the Akisora franchise. Plot sees ever since he was a young child, Sora Aoi had always exchanged words of "I love you," quote unquote, with his attractive older sister, Aki. Now, as he comes of age, he finds it much harder to exchange such comforts as they did in those simpler times. When Aki demonstrates her feelings toward him to go beyond a sister's love, Sora finds himself questioning his feelings for his sister. Realizing their affection for one another, they consummate their love in secret in a society that would never understand. All right, so now, granted, many Japanese series, they do play upon this kind of thing, this kind of incestuous love stuff. It is kind of popular to read and watch sometimes for some people. But anyways, moving on to the final piece of niche history, we move on to the year 2020. On this date in the year 2020, Rooster Teeth released to theaters or on the Netflix. Um, the the Transformers War on Cybertron trilogy. So the Transformers War on Cybertron trilogy series, the Netflix series, was released on this date back in 2020. So 5 years ago today, um, Transformers War on Cybertron, the series, was released on this date based on the. So Rooster Teeth. Okay, Rooster Teeth was the one who um, did this. 2019, Hasbro's production studio AllSpark and Netflix announced a new animated series titled War on Cybertron Trilogy. The series was produced by Rooster Teeth alongside AllSpark Animation and Polygon Pictures. F.J. DeSanto would return as showrunner, while George Kirstick, Gavin Heinite, and Brandon Easton joined as writers. The first season was originally set to be released in June 2020, but was rescheduled to July 30th, 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Second season was released December 30th, 2020, and the third and final season, July 29th, 2021. All right, so there we go with that. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. Hope everybody enjoyed the show. Of course, you can always catch these shows. Every as I do keep them. I do keep them on, so you can always catch them. If you miss something in the show, you want to go back and watch, do that as well. Of course, I'll be back here with more Niche News tomorrow. Also, I'll have RJ Carter from Critical Blast, my co-host Sundays. We take another trip down comics history lane. We look back to books that went on sale in June of 1940. This week we'll be focusing in on Ace Magazines, looking at Surefire Comics #2, as well as Super Mystery #2. So with that, I thank you all for being here. I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.